Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The importance of becoming or being a holistic methodologist. Now, a holistic methodologist basically learns about 27 sciences and move it back into the Quran to get an holistic kind of understanding again, and also to be to in fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah says Allah is going to question those who break the Quran into pieces. So it's going to be important for us to bring all the sciences back into the Quran. We know it originates from the Quran. So becoming an holistic methodologist basically means that you are able to teach a concept through 7 activity-related, integrated activity-related features: the natural, nature, people, language, trade, calculation, construction, microscopic, and telescopic. So if you look at those 7 activity areas, they all come from the Quran, and they integrate, right? So one can actually explain anything in terms of those particular 7 activity areas or 7 particular facets of anything. It's natural aspect, it's people aspect, it's language aspect, it's trade aspect, it's calculation aspect, it's construction aspect, and it's microscopic and telescopic aspect. So an holistic methodologist can, in actual fact, do that, and those are because he's trained or she is trained to apply the holistic leisure learning methodology, which is coming from the Quran, and holistic leisure learning, which would spell the word Halla in Arabic. Halla means to say La ilaha illallah, and also to rejoice and to be happy that Allah has given you the truth. So it is these particular features of the Quran that made scholars, the Quranic features that made scholars investigate and find out about different things. Because Allah tells us about these things, He gives us materials, He's given us the heavens and the earth to reflect on. That the true scholar, he looks at the universe and he says, Allah's not created this in vain, and they study it. And so this has encouraged Muslims to create and to learn and to integrate and to use and to develop a culture which was enormous in terms of laying the foundations for what we today call modern science. So if we look at what did the Muslim bring in and why did they do this kind of research, then we can see that the whole feature of life itself centers around the Kaaba. Now, why do I say that? Is because the Kaaba basically, according to scientific and geographical features, is the center of the universe, not of the universe, of the earth itself. And Kaaba actually, we know, stands for the word cube, right? But if you look at the root word of Kaaba, it means to be rounded, right? To make something high in ranking, okay? To be glorious, to be honored, and so this cube is also a really important feature in life itself, because the cube in itself, is like a central feature for your geometry, for volume, etc. The basis for construction, architecture, and all forms of features that we live by today. And so the Kaaba is central in the sense that Muslims basically wanted to find out where is the Qibla. And so they use different instrumentation, different calculations, use the stars, etc., in order to find a direction for prayer. Because they're travelers, they were traders at sea, etc. They were the founders of the triangular sail, which is faster in terms of sea travel. So you find that people who basically work through the mathematical feature, and you can look at the Quran, Allah says everything is created in number. Allah has created everything in qadr, and it means number, it means power, it means strength, it means ratio. And all of the basic sciences is linked or is held by numbers. And so the Arabs created the number system. So the Arabic numerals is being used. They can't take that away from the Muslims. And then algebra is come from al-jabra, meaning to balance things or to harmonize things. And it is the Muslim who created this kind of variables, etc. And these variables are also to calculate distance, far distance that you can't physically, in actual fact, measure. So the Qibla is, we can say that everything then centers around the Kaaba, basically, because you get your trigonometry, your algorithms come from Al-Khwarizmi, who was in actual fact he was a mathematician, he was an astronomer, a geographer. And this is the beauty of what I'm saying, is to train our students to become holistic methodologists, because they are also like polymath people. They can teach any subject and they can integrate it, which is basically what the previous scholars have done. And so basically, as the head of Ikra HL University, I am guiding my students to get that kind of skill and to be able to open up the kind of excitement of learning. So if you look at now, if one wants to simplify trigonometry, would one say trigonometry is a relationship between angles and sides? And algorithms is basically a relationship between number and spaces. And then when you look at the two, you can say that the relationship between number and spaces is determined by the dot. Okay, the dot, where the dot is in terms of a scale of the Cartesian plane, the x-axis and the y-axis, where the dot is, and where the dot is a number, is a coordinates, but it covers a space. Right? So if you change the coordinates, you change the size of something. So a photocopy works like that. You press in the button for the numbers, for reduction and for enlargement, and you actually change the coordinates, and so it changes the size. So you have that the number system which the Muslims have created, Arabic numerals, and algorithms which the Muslims have in actual fact also designed, because Al-Khwarizmi created all the trigonometry tables. And then you also have the Muslim scientists who created chemistry, such as, which is also an Arabic word, alchemy, come from Arabic. And a person like Jibr ibn Hayyan, right? He basically, his father was a chemist who made the medicines, etc. And he basically studied and created so many features that are today still used in chemistry. Right? He created the processes of distillation, liquefaction, sublimation, amalgamation, crystallization, filtration. He designed the glassware even of the lab, and the scale as well, that can basically measure very minute features. So then you have medicine that was written like by Ibn Sina, and that was the canon of medicine for many 700 years. And then if you look at Zakaria al-Razi, he basically classified natural and artificial substances, which basically gave birth to the periodic table. So here you have Muslims that have been encouraged by the Quran, did the research, wrote the books on which the basis of modern science is based. So if you look at algorithms, which is the relationship between number and space, and trigonometry, which is the relationship between angles and sides, and you put that all together, you get codification. You're coding it like X, Y, and this codification gives the name coding, which is basically the basis for computer programming. So in the basic, if one looks at that basic features of modern science, then you realize that even your chat GTP or whatever your artificial intelligence is based on, like, whatever is placed into the computer. But you must remember that is done by the Western world, so it's in English, so it doesn't access the Arabic and other languages. So it's very limited in terms of its intelligence, put it that way. So if one looks at Arabic itself, it's so wide and so integrative, and it actually combines sometimes opposites to create a better understanding of things. That Arabic, because Allah says they created the Quran in Arabic, so that people may reflect and think deeper, you can then see that Arabic goes much deeper than artificial intelligence. So I've got a sweater that I made called that spiritual intelligence enhances artificial intelligence. So it can put things together. If you talk about artificial intelligence, only what has been placed into a system that has been recognized by the West. Anything outside that, it won't be able to take information from there. So it's very limited in terms of what it can create. So we as human beings, with the Arabic language, with the Quran, etc., because the Quran is so highly advanced, can go beyond AI. So I've got poems that I wrote on, who needs AI, etc. So you can go to my blog called Book Up Helper and then see the different kind of adult poems that I wrote, in the sense of where adults can deal with issues of today and then have an answer which is creative and which is holistic and which it gives hope to the issues that we see, and like the Quran gives you hope. So we then have basically summarized that mathematics, computer science, artificial intelligence, which are all modern stuff and basic science, and even the methodology of experimentation, those were laid by the Muslim scholars, and the West actually changed their names to make it sound like Latin names, so that you think it's Europe that created this. So Ibn Sina's name was changed to Avicenna. Jibr al-Hayyam's name was changed to Jabr, and people like Ibn Sina's name was changed to Avicenna. So if you look at those particular people, they've made tremendous strides in developing number systems, etc. So I just want to show you how the number system is actually was not created like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's actually angles. So 1 would be 1 angle, and then 2 will be 2 angles, and 3 will be 3 angles, and 4 will be 4 angles, right? And 5 will be 5 angles. And so you can see that, and 6 will be 6 angles, and 7 with a stroke through will be 7 angles, and 8 will be 8 angles, and 9 will be 9 angles if you cross the line over. And then 0 actually has no angles. So the Arabic for no for emptiness is like sifr, right? So it's got no angles whatsoever. And then from sifr it became like into Latin, and eventually they turned it to 0. Okay. And that video is also available, done by a Moroccan tour guide who actually did this video. So here I've just got a basic of the number system and how you write it within angles, etc. And you can actually see it on his video. And let me just see if I can get the name of that video. so that you can actually go into it yourself. Let me see now. I did download it. So let me see now. Downloads. The name of it. It's where were numbers created from angles, geometric perspective. If you type that in, you'll get that particular explanation. Were numbers created from angles? Yes, and in that way you can see the numbers were created by angles. And again, the relationship between angles and sides, which is trigonometry, coming from Muslims, Kharizmi, and then algorithms is the relationship between number and shape, gives Islam a tremendous kind of base on which everything is based. So you can imagine why some people who don't believe in Allah want to destroy everything that has to do with Islam, because they don't want to be, they're so jealous of the fact that Allah has given the power to Muslims in every way, and they want that power, and so they try to destroy everything that is related to Islam so that they can try and claim for themselves the world. And that's basically what they are looking at, and nothing for them in the akhirah. May Allah protect all of us, inshallah, and guide them. So yeah, I hope I've given you a quick 16 minutes, 14 minutes kind of summary of how the Muslim scholars have created the basis for chemistry, for physics. Ibn al-Khitam was the first person who developed the fact that the eye does not see by itself, but the eye sees through reflection of light. Before that, people thought that the eye sees by itself. So Ibn al-Khitam basically is regarded as the father of physics. And then you get a person like Ibn Khaldun is regarded as the father of history, or the father of sociology, etc., where he studied as he's traveled, etc. He created a kind of how societies develop in time. First they are agrarian, working with the land, and then they become then they start becoming crafting, etc., etc. Now they become technological, and now they become artistic, and then eventually they come back again to be agrarian, where they have to work with the soil. And you can see how the life is also becoming like that. It's going through that cycle. And Allah says everything has a cycle. It goes through a cycle, and you can't bring it back again. It just has those cycles that it happens. But Allah has given us the basis for development through the Kaaba, through the direction of the Qibla, and the essence of being an holistic kind of thinker, and using the basis of numbers, which is Quran based, says everything created in number, everything is in a ratio, everything has a qadr, a strength by itself. And these are all fascinating features. So this is what we do at Iqra HL University. We create an excitement and build a self-esteem of our students, and also create jobs for them, in the sense that they can become tutors and they can integrate in terms of business and so on. So our emblem, which is actually 3 arrows that are coming together, is the social sciences, the exact sciences, and the business sciences coming together as one. That is basically our emblem, with 3 arrows coming together to a point in a circle. So everything becomes rounded when one looks at the Quran, the Tawheed of it, looks at the Kaaba. It's just the cube, and how we go around in an elliptic form to actually do the tawaf, because there's Hijr Ismail, where you can't go in. Your tawaf is around that, and everything orbits basically in that same way, in an elliptic form. And that's where I designed holistic leisure learning, in that it follows the elliptic form. Sabbaha lillahi ma fi samawati wal ard. Everything in the heavens and the earth praises Allah, and that sabbaha means to orbit, and it also means to praise Allah. And you see, anybody when they do zikr, even the people standing by the wailing wall, anybody that makes zikr remembering Allah, they move into an elliptic movement. So I hope this has been like an encouraging feature in order to speak intellectually and holistically and give that basis of how we should value the Quran and the Kaaba and the direction and the Salah and everything Allah has given us, because it all integrates. It allows us to tap into our ruh, which is extremely powerful, which is the breath that Allah has blown into us to make us alive. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam, Allah knows best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.